So, discussing relationships. Um, so it was the concept of like a woman doesn't need a man for sure. She can take care of herself, and physically they don't feel the same sexual needing for a woman. You know, a guy feels hardwired in his brain that he has to have a woman to have a child, and that's true. A woman doesn't need a man to have a child. She can choose. So yes, it's true that a woman doesn't need a man. And, this patriarchal society, it's governed by the mentality of men. And the way men think, it's not actually how men think. Men think in the world, the way the world and historically how it's been set up, is that men actually think from the perspective of women. So, because they try to secure their need for a child or whatever, men feel vulnerable emotionally because they're not as in touch with their bodies and surroundings as much as women are. Women don't need a man. A man is not as in touch with the physical presence as a woman does. They feel devoid of life, men. So a woman can go without a man much more easily than a man. A man goes crazy without a woman. A man gets angry, depressed, sad, abusive. A woman without a man, she's fine. She can go her whole life without a man. She doesn't need a man. But ultimately she'll realize that she will become a lunatic one day because she will be flapping around like a dead fish in the wind. So, no, the society is incorrect. It's all based off a female perspective, but controlled by a male ideology originating from a female conception. Anyway, so that was just that. So obviously, so basically, from what I've learned in my life is that you learn far more and you become better when you actually just, it's not that you ignore like evil and like negative energy. It's just that you actually like listen, watch, observe, and then try to understand where they're coming from, and then how does that fit into where you're coming from, and then trying to decipher what is actually true. You know, I could think, what is the correct way to go about things in terms of the correct way would be this and that to get this result. And that's probably how most introverts think in terms of their ideas to create a material outcome. And I'd say most extroverts think, what action can I take to get a desired result? So, but like, I don't want to sound arrogant or anything, but I feel like I've achieved everything I really actually wanted to achieve in life. For me, it was always about understanding more than results, and I understand for other people it's more about results and understanding, but for me personally, it was always about understanding. So, And I have every like intention to like enjoy my life and create like a beautiful atmosphere, like for myself, for others, and yeah, and to just like really enjoy life, like so. So yeah, so the lesson, like, I mean, if I can, from what I've learned, is that turning the other cheek is really important, because if you get like absorbed in other people's, because they just want a reaction, basically, because they're like vampires, and when they fight, they think of things because it makes them feel dangerous, and then that's when their subconscious mind gives them solutions. But actually, like, it's kind of like taking drugs, like even medication, like for like a mental disorder or like a depression or whatever. Maybe you're on the drugs, and then in the moment, if you feel like you have the answer, and then you wake up the next morning and it's like, the answer is it's not there, because the answer is coming from an emotion, and the emotions aren't the same, because the emotions are actually, the emotions originate from the mind. As much as I indulge in my emotions, they are originating from my mind, because I choose what kind of emotion I want to feel. So actually, like, emotions of, like, because of original sin, we've become so, like, dependent on emotions. But, like, actually, emotions are created for our enjoyment, not our way of living. That's a fallen world living in an emotional place. They're living from their stomachs. But actually, in the Bible, they talk about like where God rules the world from is Israel, which is his mind. He rules from his mind. And if he wants to get emotional, he can. If he wants to explore any other place, he can. But like ultimately it is controlling life, but controlling your own life, not controlling other people, being in control of your own life. It's from your mind. If I wanted to seduce a girl, sure, I can get emotional and blah, blah, blah. But if I actually wanted to seduce her, I could just do it with my mind. I can do anything with my mind. I don't need anything else but my mind. If I was going to seduce a girl and with my emotions, I'd start acting acting up. And like that might give me the validation of like people like looking at me and blah, blah, blah. But like if I thought about like what I actually want here, like do I just want the girl, then that's an idea. Then I apply what I understand. So even if I want attention, it's the same thing. Instead of being taking actions the whole time, I'm using ideas rather. So if you compare it to a computer program, it's like I'm using a computer program rather than surfing the web. So I'm using a method rather than a character. It's a method acting. It's character acting. Johnny Depp's a great character. He's the most emotional person, their type, the INTP. They're poets. They're emotional lizards. They're the most emotional, smart people in the world. But look at Johnny Depp now. He's bankrupt, got no wife, nothing. So if I'm using a computer program to run my life as opposed to I'm not using trial and error. So if it's a computer program versus an application. Okay, so I have a computer program, and then because I want to, I create an application. But I don't run around the application like Instagram, like posting a picture of me doing this, like at that event, like with this photographer looking like a Gucci hat. And then the next one, I'm like, because I got a certain reaction from that, now I'm like, I want to try and mix it up. I want to be like more like an army person. And then I try that, and then it's like I'm boarding on all these things, I'm boarding it up. Like, that's like surfing life. It's basically your experience versus what you think. And actually, like, what I think is more important than what I experience. Because if I'm going for likes, for example, then all I have to do is ask for likes. I mean, in terms of my thoughts, I mean, I'm going to start thinking about, like, I want likes. You know? I'm not reliant on the world, the physical world. I'm not reliant on the feedback that the physical world gives me to validate that I'm on the right path. I'm reliant on my thoughts to give me the validation. And the thoughts are more important because, you know, from quantum physics, everything originates from thoughts. Even emotions, they originate from thoughts. So why go to the fruits when you can go to the source? And I'm not like suggesting that I'm becoming like a robot, you know, because like I love emotions and I think they're beautiful and they're a gift from God, and God wants us to be emotional creatures and to enjoy life and express ourselves as like artists and like painters and musicians and poets and actors and anything passionate and expressive, like. But you don't want to be controlled by it. You want to be the one in control, okay? So ultimately, what you want to become is a master of your life. Whatever trade you're doing, you want to be a master of your trade. You're not an authority on what you're doing. You're a master, okay? You are Neo from the Matrix, the one. Nothing in the system can get you. It's you can't die because, you know, Neo dies, and yes, Trinity is told she's going to fall in love with a dead person. But even though Neo's dead because emotionally he's not living, he's actually more alive because he's not defined by the physical nature of life. He lives with his thoughts. So even though he dies physically, because he wasn't so attached to his body, he still had his mind. And then when he was in death, he was like, I'm still thinking here. And then he had the choice, I want to come back to life. So yeah. Okay, so my next video, I'm actually going to be talking visually about what I plan on doing. I haven't thought about it. I've been thinking about it a lot, but like I'm just going to see like what's on the cards.